Welcome to Subramani. Do you think you are a good investor or a bad investor? Well, there may be enough data to say that you are not as bad an investor as your financial advisor or the fund management industry wants you to believe. Maybe you're a good investor, right? Nothing takes it away from you. But for being a good investor, first of all, you have to measure what you're doing, right? So this everybody talks about. I think Bill Gates has spoken about it, saying it is easy to do something when you put up a measurement. In fact, he was talking of the human development, saying if you have clear goals and you're measuring, good chance that you will achieve your goals. So he was talking more in terms of vaccine, etc. And then our own Narayan Murthy said, in God we trust, all others bring data. So right, so you have to have some data of how you perform versus the benchmark which we use. So that is how investors think that they have to judge themselves. I am against that, right? So okay, this might sound quite contrary, but I don't even judge fund managers by the benchmark. It's very common for fund managers and other people in the fund industry to judge by benchmark, because that is because they have to choose between fund managers, etc. I don't. I have enough trust in the fund manager. I'll stick around during years when they give 9% return or 41% return or minus 5% return, because I am very clearly an absolute return seeker rather than a relative return seeker. So would Prashant Jain, Naren, or any of those fund managers through whom, or a DSP or an Invesco, where I don't want to say specifically, because have they performed well, or PGM, have they performed well? Well, they may have performed well. They will perform well for me. I don't have a benchmark by which to decide. For example, I've invested in Nippon Pharma. I've invested in Lakshya Nivesh, both of Nippon. I've invested in many funds of DSP, which could be natural resources and all that, not the regular ones, the US. Similarly, does the benchmark really matter for me? The answer is no, nor should it matter for you. So maybe you're performing well, maybe you're performing well even in direct equity, right? But the problem is the way data is dissected and bisected and given to you, saying here is a fund which will invest only in the top 10 companies in India and in small cap. Is it possible? I'm not sure what SEBI says when it makes all these classifications. There are just too many classifications. So the market has been bisected and dissected in thousands of ways. All this will go to improve the index. So don't worry, somebody will launch an energy fund, somebody will launch a top 10, somebody will launch a top 15. I know a focused 10, focused 20, focused 25, focused 30, they're all there, right? So they could be picking across market cap, they could be picking in a particular market cap, in a particular industry, any of those things. All these things will happen, and there are just too many funds now seeking your attention. Do you need to look at all of them? And how will you judge your fund manager? Will you judge him or her by the benchmark? To me, the benchmark doesn't really matter. It does not matter to me how fast Sanjeev Kapoor can cut vegetables. I am cutting vegetables for a family of 3 people. It doesn't matter. There's nobody judging me, saying how fast I cut vegetables, as long as the food is tasty. Exactly the same for your investments also. Benchmarks are important for fund managers, not for you. In absolute terms, if you can meet your goals, if you can sleep comfortably, if you have enough money in debt, if you have enough money in equity, take taxation into account, because fund managers don't understand taxation. So if you put money in a balanced advantage fund or a multi-asset fund and you are getting returns which is enough to meet your goals, you're doing very well. Don't have to go and attend a party where people say, oh, I put in this fund, this is what they do, that is what they do. There are just too many funds. No investment advisor can track them. Forget whether an individual investor, whether you can track them. Do you need them? No. Do I have them? Maybe yes, because I look at a REIT, which is an international REIT. I have money in a commodity fund. I have, but that's more for fun. The amount of money that I have is not significant. The amount of money that I have in direct equity is far more significant, right? It's not really significant. So the average return means nothing to you, right? So if 41% is what the index has given this year, and you have got 39, technically you have underperformed the index. But does it really matter? Did any of us think we will get 39% return? Maybe no. Maybe I want, practically speaking, I need 7-8% return, which is more than sufficient if the inflation is 4.5, which are the numbers which are coming now. Right, if you get to 3% above the above inflation, I'm more than meeting my goals. I don't have to really worry too much about the returns I'm getting. So whether I invest in the mid cap fund, small cap fund, does not matter. Recently I saw I had got 54% in a mid cap fund, which another person told me, oh, it's underperformed because the benchmark is 59. Honestly, to me, benchmarks don't matter. When I trust a fund manager, I trust a fund manager over 20 years. So it does not really matter. I don't have to think back as to what I did. Will I change my the way I invest or my attitude towards investing? No. But tomorrow, if I need money for my daughter's education, obviously I'm going to redeem some fund or sell some share. That is bound to happen. I cannot now say, oh, I think if I wait longer it will be better. No, it does not. It can't be better. Right, I have my goal which I have to achieve, right? So how many investors actually believe that they have to beat the benchmark? Most of them, because you've been told continuously by the fund industry and the financial media that you are underperforming the index. This is not good. Now for you to perform like the index, you should be in the index for multiple years, right? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Then you can compare yourself and say, am I getting the same return as per the index? The answer is you will never be able to. None of us will be able to. So if I say this is a good time to be investing, well, can the market fall 50% from here? Yes, of course it can. When it falls 50%, is it a fantastic opportunity? In retrospect, yes, but at 50% fall, you're wondering, can it be an 80% fall? Can it be 1929 revisited? Can it be Japan revisited? Can the market stay there for a very long time? Right? So all these questions will crop up in your mind. It should crop up in your mind. And when it does crop up, you have to decide how you're going to act on that, right? So we can argue both ways, saying that what is an appropriate benchmark for whom? I have no clue, because today I would rather not invest in a equity fund and debt fund separately, but put into multi-asset or balance advantage fund, because the taxation is more friendly. So what is the benchmark? My benchmark has to be very simple. Can I meet my goals? My benchmark need not be anything else. And what happens if my fund manager has not performed well for 2 years, 3 years? Honestly, it doesn't matter, as long as I don't need the money and I trust the fund manager's ability to pick the right stocks at the right time and hold it for the right amount of time, right? If I know that is going to happen, then it does not bother me. I keep looking at the portfolio and say, oh, this share looks good, this share looks good. Then I look at some of the shares and say, oh, I didn't know that I had got a 62% return in this equity share, right? So sometimes that happens, and sometimes you look at the fund and say, okay, it is very contrarian, I would never buy some of these shares, so let me stay there because I trust the fund manager. So both these things do happen. Benchmarks compare the performance of a money manager, most of whom actually fund managers don't have any control over how much money they are getting and how much money they are investing, right? They get money, and the law says when you get money you have to invest. Now look at Warren Buffett. First of all, Warren Buffett is not a fund manager. He's running his own company called Berkshire Hathaway, where he has a right to choose what share to buy, what share to sell, whether to buy gold, whether to buy small cap, mid cap, take the company private, take it public. Fund managers won't have that kind of control. They have no clue how much money will be sucked out of the system if the market falls 10%. They have no clue on all those things, and they have to still manage money. That's not going to be very easy for them, right? Another thing is to know what are the alternatives with which you are comparing. It's obvious people compare it to gold or debt or things like that, but at what point in time are you going to measure? That is also important. So when you are measuring, like I got some data yesterday saying the 20-year return on Indian equities is 16%. I do not know which index they have used, but if your last 2 years return are 34% and 41%, believe me, even a 16-year data gets impacted, right? So if the average is 12 and a half and there are a few outlier years with 50% kind of a return, just remove one or two and you will come back to something like 8% or 9%. And if you include dividends, maybe you will go to 10-11%. But if somebody tells you that 16% return is what they have got, what a benchmark has got over the last 20 years, then the answer is yes, it's the truth. But how many investors have got it? How many investors invested in that benchmark and stayed stoic during the period of COVID, did not remove money in panic, did not over invest during a bull market, right? An absolutely rational investor. Such a person doesn't exist, right? We all buy, we all sell, we make money, we lose money, we beat the benchmark, don't beat the benchmark. Are you comfortable with the amount of money you have? Are you comfortable when you're sleeping, right? Those are the more important questions. And even when your a fund manager takes some calls which may be right in the very long run but may look very foolish in the short run, your choice is whether to be with that fund manager instead of saying, oh, this fund manager should have done this. The minute you talk about what a politician should have done or what a investment manager should have done, the choice is very simple. Go become a politician, go become a prime minister, go become a president, whatever, right? So similarly, go become a fund manager, manage your own funds maybe, but do it yourself. Don't come and say that the fund manager should have done this. That's not his job. He is doing his job the way he is doing. If you think that has to be different, for example, I used to be an investor in a fund which was a large cap fund which would not buy Reliance. Theoretically, they would not buy Reliance, saying, oh, we are not happy with the quality of the management or accounting or whatever. That's fine. It suited me because I could invest in that fund and buy Reliance by myself. So I can't argue with the fund manager beyond a point. So thank you.